One of my videos recently blew up, at least relative to this channel. You might know the one I'm talking about, the breakdown of Summer McIntosh rise to stardom. And we're coming back to her today, not because she won again, but because I have never received so many comments about my knowledge of swimming mechanics. Some commentators told me I don't understand swimming and should stop the channel immediately. Very kind. Others, especially those from the more academic side, were thrilled that someone finally said it out loud. Galloping freestyle doesn't make sense. So who's right? All the Olympic men who intentionally slow down between their swimming pools, or a bold YouTuber coach, mostly known for coaching breaststrokers? To me, the answer is obvious. Galloping freestyle works. And I am not suggesting Kyle Chalmers or David Popovici should overhaul their medal producing techniques. If you're winning Olympic medals, you really don't need my advice or help. But just because elite swimmers can pull it off does not mean you should copy it. So today we're going back to basics using Summer McIntosh as our main example to understand how to coordinate your arms in freestyle, what the index of coordination actually means, and why copying elite gallopers often backfires for most swimmers. It seems that everywhere you look right now, the gallop or intentionally gliding at the front of your stroke is suddenly the thing in freestyle. And I get why. A lot of the best swimmers in the world, especially on the men's side, swim with an exaggerated gallop. And coaching beginners to glide in the front and wait for the recovering arm to spur through is relatively easy. You just say, reach, stretch, wait, glide, and now pull. It feels smooth, it looks controlled, and you don't have to explain any physics. And currently, there are YouTube tutorials praising it, coaches teaching catch-up timing like it's the default technique, and endless drills emphasizing the need to stretch in the front and wait for the recovering arm. And there's nothing wrong with that if your goal is simply to move efficiently and enjoy a leisurely afternoon swim in the pool or a lake. And I enjoy that kind of swimming too. But here's the thing, that's not how you swim fast. That's not how you create performance-oriented freestyle, where the main job is to move your body quickly and economically from A to B. Now, at this point, you might be yelling at the screen. Wait a minute, you just said that the elite men, the fastest in the world, gallop. So what's the deal here? And here comes the controversial part. They could actually swim faster if they didn't slow down between their strokes. And that part, that halting propulsion between arm pulls slows you down, is not controversial at all. That's just physics. The moment you stop producing forward force, you slow down in the water. But I do need to qualify what I'm saying. If all else stayed equal, more continuous propulsion and a more symmetrical stroke would make these swimmers faster. If you could magically keep their power, their breathing pattern, their rhythm, their strength all the same, and just remove the dead zone where nothing is pulling them forward, they would go quicker. But that's the problem. When you change technique, everything does not stay the same. You can't look at swimming technique through a straw. You can't just say, well, this one piece is inefficient, so I'll fix that one piece and nothing else will change. That's not how skill learning works. And if you're a master swimmer and you want the big picture view of how to structure your training around improving your skills, I put together a free ebook called Training Principles for Master Swimmers. It walks you through how to think about sets, weeks, and seasons so that your technique work actually shows up in your performances. And you can grab it for free from the link in the description. Now back to the mechanics. Every movement solution has a trade-off. Galloping might allow a better breath, or at least a longer time to perform it. It might enable a stronger pull on the opposite side, it might give a certain sense of rhythm or tempo control, and it might help them sync up arm timing with their kick pattern in a way that feels natural. And yes, it looks freaking awesome. It looks powerful and it looks manly on TV. I can list dozens of possible advantages, especially if an athlete has trained that technique for a decade. You can't just tap a seasoned galloper on the shoulder and say, hey, we're doing textbook opposition timing now, and then expect him to break the world record in the evening session. If you completely rewrite an elite swimmer's arm timing, the results might be disastrous. You might fix one inefficiency and break 10 other things. But none of that changes the core truth. It is still not optimal for most swimmers. And you, the viewer, should not decide to start galloping just because you see it on the world stage. And if somebody tells you that intentionally slowing down between pulls or surging upward out of the water on one side and then crashing down during arm recovery is universally efficient, in my opinion, they either haven't coached enough swimmers or they haven't thought deeply enough about the mechanics. Because here's the thing. Very often, the elites are not the best technicians. They may break records despite a technical flaw because something else in their physiology or mechanics is so absurdly dominant that it compensates for inefficiencies. They're so strong, so powerful, or so aerobically gifted that they can afford to leak energy in ways you absolutely cannot. And when a swimmer like that wins, suddenly their personal adaptation gets treated like a universal law. People say, look, he gallops, therefore galloping is the secret. No, he gallops and wins despite the mechanical downside because his engine is insane. That's a very different thing. So let's ground this in reality for a moment. The water doesn't care about trends. It doesn't care what's fashionable on YouTube. It doesn't care what some coaches say or how many Olympic medals someone has. It obeys physics. And once you stop producing forward force, drag takes over and you start to slow down. And that's true whether you swim a 40-second 100-meter freestyle or you are a beginner fighting through your first 50 meters. And galloping, by definition, introduces much bigger dead zones where neither arm is applying propulsion. And you can see it on these videos. One arm finishes the push, the other arm is still stretched forward, not pulling it. Speed drops, and then the swimmer starts the next pull and surges forward again. Slow, fast, slow, fast. It's a clear acceleration, deceleration cycle. And from a purely technical standpoint, that is inefficient. The swimmer is letting themselves to slow down every stroke cycle and then paying an energy tax to speed up again. And before someone jumps into the comments, but the kick fills the gaps, it really doesn't. At racing speeds, the flutter kick produces very little net propulsion compared to the arms, and its main job is just to stabilize your body line and not to drive you forward. So if your arms stop producing force, you will slow down. Your kick just simply cannot hide a dead zone in your arm stroke. And now, if you took the same swimmer and simply removed the unnecessary pause in the front, if you shortened that dead zone between the end of one pull and the start of the next, they would, at least in theory, be faster. And that part, again, is not controversial. Less time with zero propulsion is better. And I'm very sure this is exactly the kind of thing the real elite coaches, the Bob Bowmans and Eddie Reeses of the world, are constantly working on. Cleaning up timing and improving continuity, smoothing out that speed curve. Because I don't have any secret information they don't have. It's just that for this particular swimmer, at this particular moment in their career, that slightly gallopy, slightly negative index of coordination is the best overall solution they can currently execute to swim their race as fast as possible. But here's the key point. You, watching this video, almost certainly don't have those constraints. You don't have that decade of patterning. You don't have their power. You don't have their physiology. So you definitely should not copy this technique if your primary goal is to go faster. Looking cool jumping over the water or making YouTube thumbnails that are more likely to be clicked is completely a separate goal. But if your goal is pure speed and performance improvement, we need to talk about your arm timing and your index of coordination. And this is where Summer McIntosh comes in, and why I like her stroke so much as a model, because she is a living, breathing example of an elite swimmer who uses opposition timing extremely well, especially in distance racing, where weirdly a lot of the coaching advice is still about reaching, gliding, and stretching the front arm forward for as long as possible. And before we go deeper into what Summer does, let's give a quick kind of a human language definition. So, index of coordination is just a fancy way of describing how your two arms are timed relative to each other in freestyle or backstroke. Imagine you're watching your swimming from the side. Your back arm finishes pushing past your hip. Your front arm is stretched out in the front, ready to catch the water. The question is there a gap between those two moments? Is there an overlap, or do they connect almost perfectly? If your back arm finishes and your front arm waits and only then starts to pull, that's a negative index of coordination. That's catch-up timing. That's the glide and gallop territory, the dead zone where nothing is pulling you forward. If your back arm finishes and your front arm starts its work exactly at the same time, that's roughly zero index of coordination. That's opposition timing. One arm hands off the baton to the other with no gap. And if your front arm starts pulling a little bit before your back arm finishes, that's a slightly positive index of coordination. A little bit of overlap in propulsion, and that can also be powerful, but it's also more demanding and trickier to sustain for longer distances. Now, you don't need to calculate your numbers on your own stroke, you just need the idea in your head. How long am I not pulling with either arm? That no pulling time is your dead zone. The bigger it is, the more you will slow down. For most triathletes, master swimmers, and adult swimmers in general who just want to go faster without having the engine of Summer or Popovici, living around that zero index of coordination, continuous propulsion, stable speed, and no big stalls between the pulls is going to be much more effective than deliberate negative galloping timing. And this is exactly why Summer is such a valuable model. Unlike many of her competitors, when you slow down her stroke, what you see is continuous propulsion. So watch her stroke. The right arm finishes propulsion at the back, and as soon as we stop seeing water being pushed backwards, the left arm is already starting to engage the catch in the front. There is no big pause, no obvious stall. It looks like a clean baton pass from one arm to the other. That timing gives her a relatively even velocity curve. There aren't massive spikes up and down in velocity of her body each stroke cycle. She isn't constantly stopping and starting. That means less energy spent on reacceleration and more on just moving forward. And yes, there of course are other elite swimmers who do this extremely well, but among the superstars, especially in distance events, I think she does this better than almost anyone. And there's another layer to it. She doesn't look like she's overpowering the water. She doesn't look like she's just smashing through with brute force. She looks like someone whose stroke is built on that timing intelligence and not just on her probably absurd fitness. And that is exactly what makes her so useful to you as a model. Unless you have the strength and power of an elite male sprinter, you should probably rely more on correct rhythm, efficient timing, and continuity of speed rather than on those big violent pulls and dramatic body launches. And look again at Summer's bodyline. That platoon-style timing from one arm to the other allows her to stay incredibly stable in the water. There's almost no vertical bouncing. She's not jumping up and crashing down. Her head stays calm, her shoulders don't explode out of the water at any point, even when she breathes, and her frontal profile stays remarkably stable. She just turns to breathe and comes back, without sacrificing that continuous connection between her arms. All of that means two things. First, she produces more stable propulsion into the water. Second, she creates less drag as she moves forward. Continuous force, low drag. And that is the holy grail. And she gets there not by doing something exotic, but by having an index of coordination that lives in that opposition zone you actually can and should try to copy. So how do you feel this in your own swimming? In your next workout, I want you to actually try this out. Don't just nod along and then go back to your comfortable gliding pool. First, exaggerate the glide in the front. Really commit to it. Swim freestyle and wait until your recovering arm is basically over your shoulder line before you let the front arm start its catch. Go full catch-up mode. Full gallop. Feel what happens. Maybe you feel the drop in velocity. Maybe you feel the heavy, kind of sticky sensation at the front. Maybe you feel that you have to start the pull really hard just to get moving again. And a lot of people mistake that feeling as good feedback because it feels powerful at the start of the pull, so it must be good. No, the fact that you have to pull hard at the start is just telling you that you slowed down and now you need to accelerate your whole body again. If your arm timing was better coordinated, the beginning of the pull would actually feel much lighter, calmer, and smoother. And then, next, start reducing the pause. Intentionally begin the front arm catch earlier. Don't let the lead arm just sit there having a holiday. As the back arm is finishing, let the front arm already begin to grab water. Aim for that almost opposition timing. It will probably feel rushed at first, especially if you've been galloping for a while. Your nervous system will think you are messing up the stroke, but keep paying attention. Does it feel easier overall? Do you feel less stop and go? Do a few time lengths and see what the clock says. And if you start hitting that opposition style index of coordination, the whole stroke often starts to feel smoother and more relaxed. And over time, that rushed feeling that you will experience will go away, and you will realize it's actually just continuous movement and not chaos. Then, if you want to really experience the contrast, try the big jump style pull you sometimes see marketed as a miracle way to get more surge forward, whatever that means. So do a few strokes where you pull, launch your body slightly up and try to go forward and then crash back down. Feel that drama. Then let yourself settle back into a flatter, more horizontal position, actually in the water and not trying to skim on top of it like a skipping stone. Because the fastest way to swim is not to keep bouncing your center of mass up and down. The whole idea of trying to jump over the surface with every second stroke is kinda absurd. Yes, maybe you can intentionally produce force down through the kick and the start of the pull and hold it for a while, but it's very energy demanding and not particularly fast. And if you intentionally jump up with every second arm pull, that jump has to be generated from somewhere, which means you wasted energy moving your body vertically instead of forward. And of course, every jump has to be followed by an equal trip back down. And once you flatten that out and go back to a stable horizontal line, pay attention how simple it feels not to waste energy on movements that do absolutely nothing for your forward speed. And now layer in the Summer McIntosh image in your head. Calm body line, no big poses, arms trading off like the relay baton. That is the feel we're chasing. Hopefully this video explains why I keep promoting a way to swim that looks a bit different from what you often see on YouTube. I can't in good conscience recommend a strongly negative index of coordination or big up and down galloping in freestyle to anyone who genuinely wants to swim fast at any distance. So build your stroke around continuous propulsion. Use physics and common sense to guide your technique, not the quirks and compensations that some superhuman elites can hide under absurd fitness. And if you have to pick a model, don't start with the guy who looks the coolest in slow motion. Start with someone whose timing and coordination makes sense for you. Start with Summer McIntosh. Not just because she's winning, but because her stroke is a beautiful example of exactly what we've been talking about. Great continuous propulsion, a stable body line, efficient breathing, and an index of coordination that you can try to emulate. And if you want support applying this to your own stroke and training, that's exactly what I do inside my swim rehearsal community. It's a place for performance-focused master swimmers where we combine a real community element with individualized support. I write personalized programming for your training needs, I do technical video analysis and race analysis, and I answer questions every day about any swimming and training topic you're dealing with. So if you want structure, feedback, and a community of swimmers who take this as seriously as you do, you can join from the link in the description. And if you want a full video here on YouTube on how to train more continuous propulsion or how to build opposition style index of coordination into your stroke with specific drills and sets, let me know in the comments and I'll make that video. See you next time.